All right. So biochemistry. Biochemistry, Herculean strength. Herculean biochemistry. Have you seen in the Olympics? This has been very apropos about the Olympics and why the Olympics exist. Because the Olympics are based upon how do you take the divinity, the divine biochemistry, and isolate specific components of your body to have almost superhuman strength. And that's why we have the Olympics. We are fashioning humans into some kind of demigods that are also mortal. And so I was thinking about this when, my dog, she goes outside occasionally. And there are stray dogs. Like I knew about stray dogs just the last couple of days because they've been roaming around our yard recently. And Sugar seems to scare them away just by her presence. But I was also thinking of when I took her to get her nails done and I was able to actually pick her up. And that takes like a Herculean strength. Why do I call it Herculean? Because it is a Hercules type strength. It is when you have to tap into that biochemistry, the adrenaline, that when somebody is in a fight or flight type of mode, their body is able to bring up that chemistry to give you almost superhuman strength for that minute. And so I was thinking about that when I was out there with my dog, knowing that there's dogs roaming around our yard or roaming around our neighborhood. And what would I have to do to defend Sugar? I would have a type of superhuman strength if I had to defend not only my dog, but to defend myself. And what the medical holistic system does, even the military, intelligence, what is it? Something ops in the military where they foster that Herculean strength out of the men in our society to where they're able to do superhuman type of things. And I'm thinking in situations to where, you have to defend yourself. You're going to tap into a Herculean strength that you didn't know you had. But why we have mortality in this world is because people are trying to bring up those hormones to exploit themselves to look like they're superhuman. And so that is the divine potential of the humans, how much of those hormones are being used and exploited to then show how powerful a person can be if they foster that biochemistry. And so what is one of my chapters? Because humans have to understand their divine potential. They really do. One of my chapters is called Divine Potential Was the Gift from Gods. And so one of the sections is called Greek Polytheistical Biochemistry. And then I'm going to show the connection between the human that was started during the cradle of mankind that came out of Africa and Asia and parts of Eurasia. And then between the cradle of humankind to the cradle of civilization, and then the evolution of mankind and the innovation. It was only, 1.9 million years ago, of which the humans were touched by the gods, the divine. Because it wasn't like a caveman woke up one day and said, I'm going to know everything about math, science, how to make a wheel, how to invent the wheel, how to invent a working community. No, they were taught by somebody. And they were given divine biochemistry. They were given divine hormones. Those hormones are the Greek gods that you learned about: Hercules, Aphrodite, Zeus, Poseidon. And so that makes sense that, when I'm out there with only 3/4 of my yard fenced in, 1/4 is open to the general population if they really wanted to come on my property. Dogs come in and out. What would I do to defend my dog? Oh, I'd kick anything's ass that would attack me or my dog. And I've gotten into fights before. I've got my ass kicked a couple times because my britches were too big. But I've gotten into fights where, yeah, I kicked a guy's ass a long time ago. And it was like you almost black out and then you almost get a superhuman strength because you're that triggered. That adrenaline is the Herculean gift that was given to you. But humans, when they do drugs or when they do steroids or when they do biochemical manipulations, they try to draw up those specific hormones. And so that's why you see some men and some women in our society who are so strong. You're like, what the heck? Well, they had to foster that strength. Not only did it come from a genetic line that was fostered to bring up that strength, that human growth hormone, plus then the adrenaline, but they also did things to manipulate their body to make them strong like Hercules. Now, could we actually hold up the world? Well, that was the story behind Hercules or Atlas. That was Atlas. Hercules was just, he was just very, very, very strong. But Atlas was the one that actually held up the world on his back, which I don't know exactly why that was his strength or why that even was the reason. I can go search that. But understand that all of your emotions and your strengths come from the divine gods. And then what you see at the Olympics, whether it's the gymnasts, the runners, the pole vaulters, everything in the Olympics is where they exploited the divine potential in humans. And they go through a conditioning process. And so that's why there's that a whole Illuminati thing behind the Olympics and the rituals behind that, because they are celebrating what the gods gave to us many, many, many years ago, of which that's the esoteric knowledge that the Catholic Church and the Freemasons know about. Way back from antiquity, back in the Europe, the Egyptian days, when some of the gods exploited humans, gave them enough intelligence to basically have them mine gold and have a community that works, so it supports thousands and thousands of people to go and build their pyramids, to go and build their cities and their architecture, and all the things that you see in these ancient civilizations, these ancient ruins. And so that right there, makes a lot of sense of why people are into hormone manipulation. Why biotech does what they do what they do. And then why Jilly Juice is, yes, that bringer of light. Jilly Juice is like the juice of the gods. And then the immortality of the gods for them was the covalent bonding. It was the ambrosia. It was the honey mead. Not so much for honey, but it was the sugar that gave them the body to be able to live on this earth, because they have also the energy, the salt, their divine potential from the universe. And so that's why they were dubbed as immortals, and why the demigods were like half man, half human, or half man, half god, half man, half mortal, or immortal is where, yeah, you have the potential. I think we all humans are demigods. All humans are. You've been innovated with divine spirits through the pharmaceutical industry. The vaccinations are what was it? The chemistry of the gods. People think it's satanic. But then do you want to go back to the caveman days? Like, you don't even know why they have the intelligence they have. They don't know why they know how to read the Bible. Humans don't even know why they know how to do what they do. They just take for granted. And so when the pharmaceutical industry or biotech wants to keep putting in, innovation, well, because, yeah, it's an upgrade. Yeah, it's innovation. Yeah, it's evolution through creationism. But then, yeah, can you support it correctly is the other half that No, biotech has not released that to the world because of the Hippocratic Oath. Squelching the pain, squelching the evolution. So if you understand your adrenaline, your hormones, all your hormones, your dopamine, your serotonin, every single hormone, the endocrine system, your thyroid system, your pineal gland, those were all gifts from the gods. Or else you'd be no different than a nomadic caveman, a hunter-gatherer that is just living to survive. On Maslow's ladder, that's the baser level instincts. Food, water, shelter, reproduction, and eating. Well, same thing as food. That's the caveman mentality where that is where it's just survival. And so you see who in our society where they're a caveman, where they're just surviving. Some people have the luck of the innovation to do more than survive, but they're only like, one reset of society or one market crash away from being like everybody else. They happen to get lucky because of their connections to have a lot more of the energy and a lot more of the rubles and the money to give them a better lifestyle, more innovation. But they're still just as caveman-like if they didn't have that as the guy that lives in middle America in some very ghetto-like surroundings. So that's why with the J juice, it's so important to understand that your ability to regenerate at the micro level is the continuous cash that you can regenerate on your own, because that gives you the gift of productivity, the gift of mental clarity, the gift of productivity, the gift to take on complicated concepts that you would ordinarily not even want to explore because you've been told or you thought that you weren't smart enough, you weren't good enough. You can't break that barrier that was set before you in your community or within your family. And so Julie Juice does have you expand your horizons, expand your potential, expands your capacity. And that's why, college was shoved down my throat, of which I rejected. But the reason why college was shoved down my throat, because that is the gift of knowledge. But it's a gift of knowledge that is very manipulated, and it's for a specific reason. Yeah, college is just a very small percentage of the whole pie. I don't care what major you go into, whether it's organizational development or it's biology or physics or chemistry or computer technology, it's still a very small percentage of the big picture. And you pay dearly for it. You pay an arm and a leg to go to college. And I watched that college exam corruption on Netflix where people were paying this guy to get into the top Ivy League schools because, they saw that as a way to not only get prestige, but to possibly get into a company that will pay their kids thousands and millions of dollars, and the doors will open up for you, but the kid still has got to perform. They still got to be able to take that knowledge from Harvard or Yale and apply it. But yeah, there's always somebody else out there that's pulling the strings with these large companies that will hire someone from Harvard, and they will be manipulated, and they will be molded into a very specific product that, you can make a nice living, and then you retire, and then you get brain cancer. So you've been exploited your whole life, paid into the system. Yes, they took out exactly what you paid in, and more so. They've given you money that which you squandered on things that don't mean much, material things that you can't eat, doesn't expand your brain. And then you're recycled back into the universe. And that's the endless cycle of our society, is exploiting humans for their innovation. And so you really don't reap the benefits except for a very small percentage of time. Yeah, you may have fun on your way out the door. Yeah, you may go on great trips and have nice cars and big houses and bragging rights. But that's the part of selling your soul so you can have that immediate wealth. And then, your body is being taken from you. Everything is being taken from you during that time. And so then when you're on the J juice, you'll balance out the gifts from the gods. You'll bring up the gifts when it's needed. Just like when I picked my dog up, because the truck is so far. I got her a ramp, which I did use this morning when I got her in the truck, because I didn't really feel like picking her up, because she's like 60 or 70 pounds. She's a pretty hefty dog. But when I was at the dog grooming place, when she got her nails done, I didn't feel like putting the ramp down for her, so I just picked her up, because I don't want her trying to grapple with her claws and her paws to get into the truck, and the truck is very narrow, and I don't want her to injure herself getting into the truck. The other truck was easier because it had a wider berth, and she had a lot more room to jump in on the floor and then get put on the seat. But everything is so narrow in our new truck that it was difficult for her the first time. So I actually took my Herculean strength and lifted her up, and it was like, holy shit, I didn't even know I had that kind of strength. That's what you're going to find in JJ's when you heal and seal, is you're going to have strength that you didn't know you had until you have to use it. Holy shit, I have that in me. And believe me, when you are in a situation of fight or flight or whatever, you're going to have the Herculean strength. You're going to have the brain power and the capacity to meet the needs of that given time. And that is the beauty of your hormones, if you're not abusing your hormones, which is what happens out there in the drug industry, which is why that's why my mom said, better life through chemistry, because she knew that you can manipulate your hormones based upon intention. But then that will also deplete you if you don't know how to balance it all correctly. So yes, better life through chemistry, but what are you using the chemistry for and why? And is it only for temporary to elicit the most out of that person and then just use them up and then deplete them and then throw them away? Or do you use them based upon the needs because of not only survival, but to also make sure that you can do the things that you want to do, like lift your dog into a freaking car. If I had to defend my dog against 2 pit bulls, I would go and meet that. But they don't want to mess with us, obviously, because there was one a couple days ago that I was like, what the hell? Because I would go out to the side and they scooted through the vacant house next to me, and all I saw was the back legs of a pit bull, and they were like, white and brown. I'm like, Sugar, what are you doing? It wasn't Sugar, it was another dog. And then today when Sugar went out there was 2 of them. But they were scooting out the side gate like it was nobody's business. They don't want to fuck with Sugar. They don't want to mess with me either. Because I will defend my dog, as well as defend myself and my husband if I ever have to. I don't want to ever enter into a fight. Ever. But if you're backed into a corner and there's no way out, then you'll have that ability. That's the beauty of J-Juice. Though you won't put yourself in a situation to test that out. But when that time arises, because there's no other choice, then you can do it. And that's the Herculean strength of your biochemistry that was the gift from the gods. And that's freaking amazing. All right, bye.